So I dealt everybody a hand of 3 character cards. Let's start over here, see what we get. We'll talk about these. Necromancer. Begins with a spell. Instead of attacking a player, they can enchant them. If they do so on their next turn, they can do nothing. They do nothing on their turn, and you get it instead. That's kind of potent, being able to steal a turn. It means, though, that you're going to be tagging around with someone, which can be dangerous. You may evade spirits. Well, you probably don't want to. Now, later, so you might want to. We'll see. Later versions of the game allow you to collect both craft and strength for defeating things, I believe. I seem to remember there being little craft bonuses too, but maybe I'm misrecall. If you don't evade a spirit, you can charm it. To do so, roll a die. If you roll higher than the spirit's craft, it joins you as a follower and adds its craft to yours in psychic combat. If you fail, it attacks you as normal. Once you've charmed it, though, you can't charm another for the rest of the game. Wow. Once you successfully. Pretty iffy. That bonus to craft, big deal. Might be worth it. Okay, well, we got nothing but evil here. The Pirate. Whenever you're in the game, any other character plays the doctor in the city, the healer in the village, or the royal doctor in the castle. Must leave gold counters on the appropriate space. No player but you may pick up these counters. Whenever you land on the city, village, or castle, you can plunder it and take the gold. Gold is useful. You can buy stuff with it. There's expensive stuff in the city, no question. You may capture any stranger you land on except the witch, leopard, judge, outlaw, or siren. The captive stays with you like a follower. Neither you nor another player may make use of the captive. When you free your captive, you leave the card behind face up on the board. You may only have one captive on the time. This is not terribly useful, but there are some strangers, they're called, that could be of use to other players, and taking them out of play could be very useful to you. You may build a raft in the woods or forest without needing an axe. And you may add 1 to your roll in the tavern. Tavern's over here. That's a good thing. There are bonuses in the tavern. I don't remember what they are. On the high end, you get a ferry over to the temple, which is a useful place to go. One of the few places you can gain craft. Wizard offers to teleport you to the outer region space of your choice. Outer is this. That could be useful. Gamble and win a gold. I think I like the Necromancer better than this. I'm not sure. Let's look at the stats on these. So the Pirate has a strength of 4 and a craft of 2. These are barely readable to me in this light. And the Necromancer looks like he's 3 of each. With that Charm Spirits ability. That's really the big one. Stealing someone's turn is kind of cool. Let's look at the Saracen. You don't lose a life in the desert. That's a couple of spaces in the game. Great. Instead of attacking a character, you can attempt to enslave one follower. Roll a die. If the number roll is less than or equal to the number of followers the other player has, you take one of your choice and make them your own follower. That's pretty cool, actually. It may make people not carry the hordes of followers around. They're not terribly common, but someone might end up with a pile. At the end of your turn, you may sell any of your followers into slavery, discard the follower, roll a die, and see how much gold you get for them. Also, kind of useful. Okay, so I definitely don't want the Pirate. Pirate has a better strength, though. And that is actually a big deal. I don't know. I'm beginning to move towards the Pirate. Possibility of gold there. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Pirate, actually. And I'll discard these over here. They'll get shuffled back in. And now the second piece of this is, and I'll show this just for the experience of it. You gotta look through the jumbled mess and try to find me a pirate. Some of these have come out of their things. Some of these are not the minis that came. They're from, there he is. And he'll be starting in the tavern. And if you don't have the minis, there's little standee cards you can use. I don't know if I have the plastic standees for them anymore. But yeah, that's an option. So let's go to the next player. Now, theoretically, this would be a hidden choice. So nobody knows that he's picked the pirate. That's important. Let's take a look at these. Oh, I see some interesting things, I think. Yeah. All right, the ninja. You can never have followers. Even the hag and the poltergeist will not. You may not own a horse or a horse and cart or a mule. That's kind of painful. Horse and cart is incredibly valuable because it allows you to carry an infinite amount of stuff. You may choose not to encounter any square you land on. That could be useful, but you must always draw a card when instructed. Have to look at the way the rules are written on that, because I think you draw the card but choose not to encounter the creature. I don't know. You may evade any enemies, yeah, this will work, in any of the spaces in the outer or middle regions of the board. That's these two regions. You can't evade this. Again, you have the power to make a secret strike when you attack. Secret strike. But not when you are attacked by any player or any enemy that's already face up. When you land, combat takes place as normal, except you deduct your craft from your opponent's total. If you win, you can choose to take either a life, a gold, or one object from your victim. He's a really good combat character. That's the biggie. And has some ability to avoid problem spaces. The Zulu, you need not roll the die in the forest. You're always safe there. That's pretty lame. When you defeat another character in combat, you may, after he suffered the usual penalties, rout him. You roll a die and move your defeated opponent that number of spaces in the direction of your choice. You can do this in the outer or middle regions or in the dungeon. He's got a big strength, I think, of 5, it looks like there. Having trouble reading, but I think that's a 5 and not a 3. Otherwise, he'd be really lame. Starting with a high standard stat in the 5 level is very powerful to get you through the beginning part of the game, but his abilities suck outside of that. So I think I'm going to pass on him. You begin the game with a spell. This guy has a craft of 4. During the game, you always have at least one spell. Whenever you use your last remaining spell, you immediately draw another. Now, becoming the Archmage gives you that same capability, basically. So, when you have more than one spell, you may keep a spell card after playing it and discard another spell in its place. This is very powerful. He can cycle through spells. He can use up the useless ones. Ooh, I'm torn between the ninja and him. So I'm going to roll a die between those two. We're going to take the conjure, and these other two go here. I'll find him and work my way through the others. Notice is kind of crappy paint job done on these. That's not so much a matter of skill, and it's not entirely a matter of bumping things around. It's actually that I didn't have most of my paints when we had this. And I've never had them since. A bunch of them got caught in a fire, exploded, but so many of them couldn't be opened. And honestly, this was sort of the last thing I did where I painted any minis of any kind. Paints have changed since then. Minis have changed since then. They're plastic now instead of lead. These were not mostly lead. These probably qualify as pewter. Games Workshop was that way. I might as well leave these face up. Nobody can use that information. Next choices. Okay, got some interesting ones here. These are a couple of early ones. This one's. All right. You are safe in the forest and crags. Never roll a die there. You can add 1 to your combat score in the woods and hills. This is a good little boost early on. He's a 3/3 with the capability of boosting himself up to a 4 in a lot of the spaces that are around the center of the board. When you land on a place, you may turn it face down to show only you know the way there. Only you can visit it from that time on. This can be really potent, or it might suck. There are some places on the board that give you really, really bonus abilities, like the Fountain of Wisdom, or there's something equivalent for Strength. That hiding that from other people would be really powerful. Let's look at this one. You don't have to roll the die in the forest. Whoop, whoop. You can evade enemies within the woods. Not as good as the bonus. When you're in a wood space, instead of rolling for a move, you can move to any other wood space in the same region. I'll pass on that. This is a 3. Well, he's got a 4 craft. It makes him a little stronger in some ways, but screw that. You start the game with the chainsword and medikit. Okay, the medikit allows you to heal. Chainsword is going to add at least 1 to his strength. He's already a 4, and he starts with a weapon. I think it's probably 2 points. You can roll 2 dice for combat and choose the higher of the 2 dice, and you're never panicked by the satyr. Again, I'm kind of torn between these two. If you've been playing it, sometimes you're like, I saw this one recently, I'll pick that one. This is why I'm just going to randomize odd, even between the two. We'll take the scout this time. The Chainsword Warrior is pretty cool. Where does he actually start? He starts in the vortex. So he goes randomly sucked into, might end up being thrown down here, which could be interesting to begin with. But whatever. Minis add a pain in the ass factor to it. So these things all have the name of the character on them. The minis do not. They're sometimes kind of hard to tell. So like the scout, it took me forever to fucking find him. I knew this wasn't him. This is the spy. But there's others that look kind of similar and you're just not sure. This is the elf, actually. There are some that don't look exactly like the character. And then, of course, there's also, the ones where I made a substitution, which is also a factor. I wonder if this was $1.25 and everything else was lower. I don't know. It was a long, long time ago. Okay, let's look at the 3 that he has as choices here. Dwarf, you don't have to roll in the crags or chasm. You can evade enemies in the hill. You can add 1 to your die roll in the cave. Where the fuck's the cave? What the cave is. I feel like there should be something. Is that this? No, that's like ruins. Yeah, I don't remember the cave. It's not in my brain right now. Ugh. It's an original thing. And now I have to search space by space. Okay, I don't see it on this side, so it's got to be up here. Cursed Glade, Runes, Chasm. Okay, I don't see it there either. Where the fuck is the cave? Oh, it's a card. Yeah. Okay. Which probably won't come out given the size of the deck. You may add, this is one thing. Some characters become weaker because this came out in the original set or in an expansion, in the first expansion, and there were half as many cards, so the cave was likely to show up. Now it's not. You roll only 1 die if you attempt to open the Portal of Power by craft. Well, the Portal of Power is this thing. Nobody cares about that. You've still got to go through the other thing, but you roll only 2 dice in the mines. That's a big deal. That's a big deal because he can get through this earlier than other people can. And there's cards that do that. And you're unaffected by the maze, which is, again, a card. All right, the Samurai. Instead of moving, you can fire your bow at a character face-up enemy card, or face-up enemy card, 3 spaces away, up to 3 spaces away in the same region, not the inner region. The shot is resolved as combat. If you lose, the shot missed. If you win, an enemy is discarded. You don't keep it towards strength. Well, that sucks. Or if a character, they must lose a life. Well, that's not impressive. You may use karate when you attack, but not when you are attacked by a character. When you do so, you use your craft against their strength in combat, which probably sucks. If you win, the victim is stunned and can cast no spells until they have missed their next turn. You may take no other reward. That's actually a more damaging effect than taking a life from someone, but it would be better to steal stuff from him. This is overall a pretty shitty character, except he has a strength of 4. And only a craft of 2, by the way, so his karate chop sucks to begin with. We have the wizard. You begin the game with 2 spells. During the game, you always have at least 1. When you use your last remaining spell, you draw another. When you attack another player, you can choose to make the combat psychic. This can be a huge advantage. Of course, it means when I'm attacked, this is problematic. So I think the wizard is better than the dwarf. It's a hard call because the dwarf has this bonus with being able to get through here. Until I don't know. All right. And we'll get rid of those. I'll find the wizard who shows up in the graveyard. Set everything up in terms of the strength and craft, the money and lives. This is what the conjurer has for a spell. It's a random. It allows you to maybe gain something, maybe lose something. Could turn you into a toad, which would suck ass. The wizard has a couple of spells. Spell call. As soon as somebody else casts a spell, you can play this and you get it off the discard pile. And a fireball. You can cast this before you move, shoot it against any face-up enemy card or character in the same region. Should the attack be defeated, nothing happens. If the fireball wins, your opponent is killed. If an enemy or loses the life of another character, it does not state that you don't get the strength from the character. You don't get to save the character for strength, which may be a big deal. Remember, somebody else had something where the samurai, where if he shoots things, he doesn't. Before I actually start, I gotta shuffle these guys into the character deck, simply because there's a good chance somebody's gonna die. Anybody who dies is gone for good, but I want the rejected selections to be back in there because there'll be characters who are less attractive than the ones that were picked. Which means there would be some sort of unconscious or conscious filtering of what's going to show. Let's start things off. Arg, I'm a pirate. I roll a die and I get to move. And this is how the game works. I roll a 4. So I have a choice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of the spaces are different size. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a shitty space. Nothing good comes from it. This space allows me to draw a card. Good things can come from cards. I find a bag of gold. I pick it up, and now I'm richer. I'm going to have trouble remembering his ability, the doctors and such not. It's just going to be hard. I go to the conjurer. Conjurer has a random. I'll play it. I roll a 3. I lose a craft, but there's a limitation. I can't lose starting craft on this. I'm out of spells. I draw another spell. I get a warp gate. Sure. You can use this spell at the start of your turn. When cast, it opens a warp gate, which will remain until the start of your next turn or until a character passes through it. You may pass through it when cast the spell. If not, the character who lands on the space goes through the gate. I'll go through. Where's the conjurer? He's here. I end up here. My turn ends there. Okay? But I get another card. I have a Mind Steal. I could cast this to steal a spell from any other player. I am not allowed to... There's rules that prevent you from using spells transferring from the Timescape back to the normal world. And I think you can't use spells in the Timescape against anyone if they're not in the same area as you are. I'm not sure about that. But I know you can't attack people over on the main board. Which is kind of a bone because I just went there. So I'm stuck with the same spell. The Scout. Scout rolls a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could go to the graveyard, which isn't particularly good for me. I'm neutral. I could attack the wizard, which I really don't know. You know, I could steal his gold. Let's look the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Likewise, I could go here. That may be the safest place to be. It lets me draw a card. Cards are cool. This is a Griffin. Now, how do you tell if something's from the Dragons deck? It has to do with the color of the card, the feel of the card, and stuff like that. I can't express that in any other way while I'm playing. I will know. This is a Strength 5 Griffin, and I'm in the hills. I can add one to my combat. I'm Strength 4. So I'm at -1 against the Griffin. And I'll use the brown die for myself, the red for the monster. I defeat the Griffin. I get to keep it here. It's not really an object, but once I get 7 strength of that, 7 points of that, I can turn it in for additional strength. And I can do that at any time, so you can kind of just save it up. Nothing really affects it. Let's go to this little fucker. Let's look at his spells. He may want to cast a spell right away. Spell call. I could pull the time gate or the random. Neither one do I particularly want to cast. This one allows me to shoot anything in the same region. So this could be very useful for picking off somebody who's close to death. But if you knock somebody out, they just get another character until and unless somebody's reached here. Once somebody reaches there, and there's one card there, the Horrible Black Void, which can happen multiple times, but which basically, I don't remember. I think it throws you into the Timescape or something, but I think it doesn't end the game. It doesn't become the ending game victory conditions. I think you keep rolling for new victory conditions. Basically, once one of these is exposed, if you kill people off, they're dead permanently. They can't draw a new card. Some of this may be house ruled stuff. I don't know. Anyway, I don't see much I want to do unless I want to go into the Timescape. Timescape could be kind of cool for me. Might suck. See, I would have cast this when he cast his spell. Given that he's going into the Timescape, I'm going to follow him. Or I'm at least going to grab his spell. I should have done this right when he cast his. No biggie. Do I want to up myself at all? Do I want to try to get any bonuses before I go into the Timescape? Because I don't have to play that, and as long as I have this stupid fireball, it's going to be hard for me to fire it off. So I'm going to just roll a die, but I want that card because I'm not going to see a spell for a while. I could go to the village or I could go here. Here draws me a card. The village would allow me to do some things. The most interesting, I don't have much money, so the most interesting would be to roll here. I could end up becoming good, gain a craft or a spell. You're only allowed a certain number of spells. I don't remember the number of that. Craft allows 2.68. Okay. So at craft 3, you're allowed a spell. At craft 5, you're allowed 2 spells. So I wouldn't be able to gain a spell. I'm going to go here and draw a card. If I needed a spell, if I had space for a spell, I would have gone for it. I met something nasty. I met a demon. This is a demon who has a craft of 10. I have to fight him. I have a craft of 5. I'll be at -5 on the die roll. I could tie. I do not, so I lose a life, and I'm down to 3 lives. That puts me back around here. That's 1 round around the board. Not much of excitement has happened. We'll play a little bit more before we load anything up. The games that I play, even some roll-in moves like Monopoly or the farming game, I'm able to kind of, after I show some of the mechanisms of play, step back and give some of the narrative, some of the story. You'd think a game like this, based on, you know, fantasy adventures, whatever, would have a great story behind it, but it doesn't tend to. The combination of rolling and just bopping around, picking cards, seeing what happens and everything, means that there's not really anything I can look at and say, okay, well, we made it around the board one more time, and the orange properties have been upgraded to hotels, or anything along those lines. There's nothing that formulative. It's all just this bop, bop, bop. I could just look and say, well, I played for a while and look what I've got, I guess. But that's completely boring. So this is going to be a long and probably dull game, or at least ride in terms of the videos. Let's take a look at our pirate. He is doing nothing special, I think. He's got to worry about building a raft. That might happen. And then capturing strangers. Okay. I don't really remember his capabilities well. So he rolls a 3. That could put me here, or 1, 2, 3. I don't know which is better. The raft here could get me here or here. That's not very exciting. I don't know. I'll just go here, draw a card. This is a dragon's card, I believe. Maybe not. I don't know. It's only a wyvern, man. It feels like it has the right stiffness. I'm going to say it's a pass and draw another card. This is definitely a dragon card. So instead I find a warhorse, which is an awesome card. This allows me to charge into combat. Add my craft to my strength for 1 round of combat only. If I'm defeated and would normally lose a life, though, I lose the warhorse. That means I now have a 6 combat with this object. And it's one of the 4 objects I can carry around on my back. Yes, it does not help me carry anything. You could argue, well, my hands are busy. My hook is busy. We go down to the conjurer, who is way over here in space. Well, he has nothing to really help him with that. Let's just check his spells. I highly doubt he has anything he wants to do with that. So I roll a die. A 2 says I follow the red line. I go into limbo. I get a card. I meet star sprites. They are followers. They add 1 to my die roll when I'm praying, and I can evade the warp demon, so I don't have to face this thing. Cool. I add it as my follower. Now, no one had anything. No one has anything that they can deal with followers. The Saracen, I think, was the one who could take on slavers. I go to the scout. Gets a 4. I don't particularly want to be with him. I don't know. On the other hand, the tavern is not a particularly great place, so I'll go here. See that griffin? Yeah, that's a different color though. This is a dragon item. This is not. I become richer. Now I'm on the wizard. Look at my spells, make sure. I got a fireball. I could go through the warp gate. There was a reason I didn't want to go through the warp gate. It still probably applies. I'm going to get rid of that fireball. I could go to the chapel. That's bad for me. I'd lose a life there. I'm evil. So I'll go to the graveyard, and I must roll a die. I roll a 5. Which gives me a spell, but I have no room for an additional spell. I have to get up to 6 craft to get that spell, so that kind of sucked. Let's go again to the pirate. Have a movement of 1. Well, I could go towards the city. I have $2, but I have a warhorse already. I don't really want to do that. I could go beat up on him. I probably could steal a gold from him, but I would rather draw a card. I find a secret door. I can go through the secret door. If I do, I discard and draw 3 new adventure cards. If I don't go through, it sticks around. He could hide it. I'll go through and see what I get. All right, I get a bunch of followers. Awesome. All right, the porter allows me to, he'll carry 4 objects for me for the duration of the game if I pay him a gold. If I don't pay him, he wanders off. If I lose him, I lose whatever he's carrying. I will pay him, I think, although I have the alchemist, who's almost as cool. He can turn any object in possession into gold. Can't reverse the procedure. And we're getting quite potent here, actually. I know it may not seem it. And we have the genie. The genie has a spell. The genie will cast the spell if I pay him a gold, and then he goes away. Well, let's see what that spell is. It's a mini vortex. I can cast this and it'll dispel all magic in one space, the same as as long as it's in the same region as the casting character. All spells in that space must be discarded, including those carried by other players. Well, collecting up followers is often one of the ways towards a great deal of strength. Spell's not too useful, but one of the nice things about them is in the Vampire's Tower, you can give up followers, you can have garbage followers, you can feed them to the vampires, and they let you through. Conjure, star sprites, help me with praying. There's a few places where you pray. I got a 1. I could go into the woods, or I could go here. I'm going to go here. Oh, sorry, that's not him. Conjure, 1. He follows the red line. He goes to the astral plane, he gets a card. He gets an alien artifact. You're able to trade it. Gain 2 gold as payment. It just goes away as far as I can tell, and you get a couple gold. This is nice. No problem there. Keep going over to the scout. 3. Okay. So here I've got some interesting choices. Maybe, kind of, sort of. Chapel's not particularly good for me. So I'll go here and draw this. It's an ogre, strength 4. I'm strength 3. If I succeed in killing the ogre, I'll have enough strength, 9, that I could exchange for a point of strength, or I could just hold it until needed. However, right now, I'm at a disadvantage. And I lose. It takes a life from me, dropping me to a 3. And here's the thing. Since it beat me, it stays on the board, just like the demon does. And the board starts getting cluttered up with things that are hard for somebody to beat. Somebody else could beat it, though. He's got a 6 versus that, could boost his strength, and could end up, more potent that way. Do I want to warp gate yet? I don't particularly. I want to blow something up. Not a good place. Not a great place, but not as bad. Okay, here we roll a die. I get a 5, I'm safe. Okay, if I had gotten a 2 or a 3, I'd be lost for a turn. I would turn my counter, I would place my counter like this to remind me on my next turn I don't get to go. Just one of those little, hey, how do we handle this type of things? Let's go back to the pirate. Pirate, his spell, I don't think he wanted to cast it. So I go. I can beat that up. Well, I think fighting that is to my advantage. I'm at +2 using the warhorse. I only roll a 3, I lose a life. Nope, I lose my fucking warhorse. Well, that sucked. Why not to fight? Okay, and the ogre stays there. It doesn't get any stronger. Some of the monsters have an ability like that. The Conjurer, I keep rolling. He's doing pretty well in the Timescape, hasn't run into anything yet. 6 means I follow the green line. The green line takes me down to the void. No biggie there. I find a medikit. This can heal up to 2 lives. I discard after use. It's an object. Nothing too exciting there, but okay. All right, so my choices are here or here. I kind of don't like being in the middle because on a roll of 3, I'd have to go here or here. Whereas from here, I can get more options. So I tend to aim for the edge spaces, all else being even. And I find a dragon. And this is not from the Dragon's Adventure. This is a real one. And I'm probably screwed. I'm at -4. I lose a life. At some point or another, once you get down to 1 or 2 lives, you want to find healing. Neutral can pay to be healed, but I don't know. Maybe the scout's not that great a character. Maybe I haven't made that big an advantage. Over here, still can't blow anything up, right? This is within 4 spaces, I believe. Otherwise, you may cast a spell, you may shoot it against any face-up enemy or character in the same region. Yeah, I'm going to blow this up. It says, should the attack be defeated, nothing happens. If the fireball wins, your opponent will be killed if an enemy or lose life. Yeah, there's no specified, so I'm going to try to kill the ogre. It doesn't say I don't get an advantage for doing so, so I assume I do. I blow the ogre up. I get to keep it there. That spell's gone. Now I'm going, although he's collected a lot of non-monsters so far, I'm going to go into the warp gate myself, because that lets me draw a new spell. Spell turning. This is a hard spell to cast. Someone has to cast something at me and then I can reflect it, which means now I've just lost my ability to draw spell cards kind of ad infinitum, which, you know, I had 2 spells before, problematic. There are no magic items yet, so nobody can go run off and become the Archmage. Let's keep going another round, I guess. Then I go sit outside and read my rolls. The Pirate. Anything exciting? I don't know. Go here, I guess. I draw a card. This is a dragon's card. This is not. I meet the Hermit. All right, I can do something to strangers. I can capture a stranger. And he's a follower, which means I can actually sacrifice him. But I can only have 1 at a time. Alternatively, I can roll a die. And he'll jump somewhere else, and the first person who visits him gives him a talisman. I don't know. Crypt Plane of Peril, Aces, Crow's Grave. I'm going to encounter him. He's going to go to the Crags. The Crags is over here. I'm going to put him upside down because he's at his location. That reminds me that he gives a talisman. I could just throw a talisman there. That would be essentially the same effect, except that he could go grab him. And I don't know what happens then. All right, back to the Conjurer. Again, I don't think I can mind steal from the Timescape. I think I have to be in the same place. That's going to be the blue line. I follow that up to Death World. Uh-oh. Death World is going to kill me. But dying's not that bad. Roll a die. I fight an alien craft 9. I'm craft 4. That means I'm at -5. Okay, I lose. And it kills me a little. Okay. Again, the Timescape's not the safest place to be, but you have more of a chance of getting out of it with some advantages rather than in the dungeon. That puts me on the Scout. Scout's getting his ass kicked. I need to find healing. 5. I could go here for healing. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it, but I'll heal 2 lives and keep my character healthier. The reason I don't know if it's worth it, I really haven't gained anything. The Wizard. Wizard follows the red line into Limbo and meets time travelers. They offer me a ride to the Space Fortress. I don't have a lot of money. That's not really why I'm here, so screw it. Okay. I'm here because I wanted to burn my spell. Back to the Alchemist. I could go to the bar. I have an advantage at the bar. Right? I thought I had a drinking bonus. Yeah, I add 1 to the die roll in the tavern. Could be good, but card is better. It's a dragon card. I am boned with a Jester. Jester becomes your follower. He is an annoying fellow who is an utter coward and will hamper you in combat by screaming loudly. This deducts 1 from your die roll in any combat. I have to look that up because I think combat and psychic combat are 2 different things. This is, again, they're such a pain in the ass because they don't really define everything, but it's kind of like, let's look. So combat is here. Psychic combat is something different. So it only affects in physical combat. The Jester will leave you if you visit the tavern, and he'll disappear to the discard pile unless there's someone else there, in which case you can give him the Jester. The Jester is an especially good candidate for the Vampire's Tower, because he sucks. Yeah, let's go back to our Conjurer. 4 is blue. I follow the blue line to the realm of Chaos, which is just a card. Dimensional Rift. Draw a card from the Adventure deck. Now, what's cool is this card is only there, and dragons can exist in the Timescape. Bag of Gold. Just, this is hey, this is what I believe. Go over to the Scout here as we wander around aimlessly. That's what the game is about. 5 puts me on the ends. I don't want to be on the dragon, so I'll go here. I meet a Pestilence. Okay, this is an event. Everyone in the region loses a life. Who is here? Well, I am, of course, and the pirate is. Doesn't impact any critters on the board or anything. And then we roll for the Wizard in the Timescape, who gets a red line, a Timescape card. I have found Battle Armor. It adds 2 to your strength. If you lose a life in combat, you roll a die on a 4 through 6. You don't lose the life, even though you lost the combat. Well, that's pretty cool. Now I've become a fairly potent fighter. Too bad I don't have the Warhorse. I'd kick ass. All right, let's do at least one more, I guess. The pirate. I need to get drunk, which means I definitely don't want to go this way. That dragon doesn't help much. I find a fairy. Seeks a champion. First good player landing there, he'll give a wish, which is a spell, gold, strength, craft, or life, or teleport to another space on the region. Well, a pirate is not good unless marked otherwise. It's evil. So, nope. The Conjurer is good. I think it's the only good character I have. I have 2 evils, a good and a neutral. There are possibilities to change your alignment. 2 is red. I go to the rad zone. And let's see what totally rad things I find there. I roll a die. I get a 2. I lose a craft. I haven't gained any craft. You can't go below your starting values, so no problem. I look for my die. I fail to find it. I don't know what I'm trying to do. Just wander around. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not a great place. 2, 2, 3, 4. So I could be in the middle here or here where I got bad choices. So the middle is actually worth more here. I meet a magic vortex. It whirls through the land. It absorbs all spells from all players. The spells in magic vortex go in their appropriate discard pile. Okay. All spells from all players. Neither of the players on this board have any spells. It doesn't touch the Timescape. We're good there. The wizard rolls a green, which sends me to the void, where I get a warp belt. Instead of rolling the die for movement, I can use this object to move 1 space. In the Timescape, I can move along the red line at my own choice. So what's nice about that is that can get you into the Nexus, which is a cool place because you draw 5 adventure cards and pick 1. That's a very powerful space in the Timescape, and that's kind of why we go here. Which is why I didn't go to the Space Fortress, because I was aiming for that. But right now, do I want to go to the Sentinel Outpost? Not particularly. That's kind of a bad space. It doesn't do you any good. It might be okay in there. All right, we're going to break for a while, charge up, read some rules, spam a little, whatever. Let's continue with my multiple layers of avoidance here. We got the pirate, and the fairy can't help him. It's a stranger. Wait, why am I on a ferry? I can capture a stranger. The fairy is not the one. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna grab her. I forgot that that's an option for me. There's no limit to the amount of followers you can have. Because by followers are kind of cool. Okay, and we continue. We're trying to get into the tavern. We want to get drunk. We could go to the city. That doesn't really help. Or we could go to the woods, which keeps us in range. I'm going to go here, actually. That gives me the option to go in. I don't really have a reason. But I don't want to go to the forest. It's not a particularly good place to be. I could lose a turn there. That's the problem. The Conjurer. It's hard to remember what the hell I'm doing. Negative zone, draw 1. Sunworm. Okay, craft 9, strength 9. You fight this with either strength or craft, whichever is weaker. Yeah. Alright, so my strength is 2. So I'm at -7. I automatically lose. I am going to use my medikit to heal myself. Gets me to the scout. What's the scout up to? I don't know exactly. It doesn't really have a goal in mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to the woods. Draw a card. I got a bear. All right, well, I'm even against a bear. That's not bad. But I lose. That gets me down to 2 lives, and the bear is here. And this is the thing. Early on, you have trouble fighting even the weaker monsters. Like a bear is pretty weak, but it's equivalent to, the average character. Later on, that's just, you vacuum them up at some point in the game, perhaps. The 2 that's red, Sentinel Outpost. Not where I want it to go. I would have used the warp belt if it was. All right. Sentinels, police, I roll a die and see what kind of trouble I'm in. I get a 6. I'm judged innocent. I move to any space on the Timescape board next turn. I am going to put my piece over there to remind me of that, simply because I'm playing enough characters that I won't remember otherwise. And we'll go... Now, I could go into the city. I don't have to declare until I roll my die. I roll a 4. I'm going to beat up on the bear. I have a penalty, though. Shit. I'm not good at this. I'd be up -1. I wish I could do something... There's a way to get rid of your followers here, but all right, I'll attack at -1. That's not good. I lose a life. I could have attacked the scout. I would have been at +1 against him. There's not much I can do about him. I could kill him. There's nothing I can take. Conjure. Follows the red line to a time loop. Return to the space you just moved from. I meet an omnipotent being. I do not pray to him. I simply roll a die. I get a 1. I gain a craft. Now, in the Timescape, every card is met once and then goes away. It's a small deck too, so it gets reshuffled. But that was a pretty good result. The scout. 5. Don't want to fight the dragon. See what we face. This is a dragon's card. Dragons aren't awake. This is a sword. I pick it up. And there's some paint on there. Not a lot. A little bit of watercolor in there to give it a metal look. This will add 1 to my strength. And this is sort of pretty common. Usually people spend a buck or so to get one somewhere. I can go wherever I want. Well, I want to go here. And remember, dragons count in here. Okay, I've got 2 bad events that I definitely don't want. Mephistopheles, who I may want. A goblin and an altar of the dead that would allow me to sacrifice a follower. I could sacrifice the jester or something there. I am evil, so I am going to take a wish, which is a craft by 1. Oh no, it's not a wish. I get a point of craft. This is good, because now I have room for that additional spell. I'm going to put another 1 here, because this is my original. These all go away. I don't get a spell, but I have room for 1. I only automatically get 1 refresh. Let's go back to our pirate. 4. This is 2 cards. This could be bad if they're animals that stack. Both of these are dragons cards. So we keep drawing. All right. Now, something I didn't explain. Cards have a number, which is the order in which they're played. So I face taxation first. Roll a die for a tax of 1 gold that's been leveled on all, and this is only in the world. On all in the middle region. Nobody's in the middle region. Goes away. Now I face a giant lizard, which is strength 3. I'm strength 4, so this is pretty good, but it's even because of the damn jester. I beat it anyhow, and I'll take it in my kill pile up here. Conjure. I keep rolling in the Timescape. 5 is green, I will get flushed. See the Timescape card? When you reach the vortex, you roll a die and see what happens to you. I rolled a 1. That sends me to the crags. Now, I encounter the crags. First, I encounter the hermit there. And he gives me a talisman. Now, here's the question I have, and I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this. What's nice about a talisman is that I can go become the Archmage if I desire, by turning it in. The hermit goes away. Now, do I also encounter the crags is the question. And I don't remember this aspect. This is one of those, hey, I gotta look things up, and sometimes this is a pain in the ass to detect. I am going to have to pause to look this up. This is the kind of thing that's painful. I used to always remember this one, but I don't anymore. It's been many years since I played. This is the first thing. Adventure cards with instructions that result in them being placed in a space other than the one they were drawn are dealt with first. That was this case. Then adventure cards encountered are dealt with. It doesn't talk about this. It may be structured somewhere else, but I think, I have no guarantee that the rules cover this case. It may be covered in one of the questions. I think he encounters the crags as well. And that's what I'm going to play, because I'm tired of looking things up. He's just safe. Now, I may want to make my look at what the Archmage is, since I am capable of becoming him and I remember him being good. To do this, because my eyes suck, I go here. You retain all your stuff from before. You'll have 2 spells instead of just 1. At all times, you can move a spirit from one space to an adjacent space. You never become a toad. The enchanter, mage, and magician will become your followers, and each will add a craft. You may not wear a helmet or armor. And if a spell is cast on you, it kind of reflects. Well, that's all pretty cool. My own ability, one of the big ones is that I always have a spell. But another is that I can, if I have multiple spells, throw away a different spell. I've never been there. But I think I do want to become the Archmage. I don't see any downside to it. Except for that throwaway spells, you know, the different spell. I think you can resign being something. I don't know. But that's all we have for him. So we go on to the scout. What's the scout up to? Oh, now that I'm on the board, I don't want to play my card. I can only affect him. And he doesn't seem to want to play his card, so it might be garbage. The scout. The scout, like the pirate, is kind of low on lives. I get a 6. This is kind of an icky space to be on right now. This is dragons. This is a helmet. Whenever I'm hit and lose a life, on a roll of a 6, I don't lose that life. If another character attacks me, though, they can just, if they win, they can just take my helmet or my sword. You can steal an object. Back up to him. Do I want to go on the red line? I don't really know. I mean, it helps me avoid the Sentinel outpost, but it puts me in a position where I could go to Death World or the Sentinel outpost next time, neither of which I really want to go. I'll roll a die. I get a 2, I go on the red line anyway. I get 2 Timescape cards. That could be dangerous. First one's a Hand of Fate, which will get rid of this one. 4, I move forward 1 space along the red warp line. I go to the void. These cards are gone. Basically, if that were on a space, the space vampire would be sitting on that space, but because it's Timescape, it just gets eaten. And now I draw a Timescape card. I get a force shield. In combat, this is better than the helmet. In combat, if I just lost a life, I roll a die, a 4, 5, or 6. It prevents me from losing a life. Now, I already have something that does that. I think I'm allowed to do both because this isn't called armor. You're only allowed to wear one armor, one helmet, and one shield maximum. Okay. Oh, do I want to keep going for a while? Yeah, let's do another round, I guess. I don't know. Trying to avoid reading, you know. Pirate, trying to get drunk. Trying to get drunk. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm at even against that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can I lose a follower there? There's some place where you're able to lose followers. No. Okay. Like a traveling carnival or something like that. I'll go fight the bear. I'm not thrilled about this because I'm in good shape except for my lives. Like, I like what I have. So I'm at even against the bear. This time I win. I get to collect the bear. And this is the problem with killing psychic things. They don't do anything for you unless they have some advantage in general. There's one character or something that gets to collect them. The Conjurer. My goal is to go to the city and become the Archmage. Well, that's no good. So we go here. That's a dragon. This is a dragon, but it's a different kind of dragon. It's an original dragon. That's not good. I'm not able to avoid dragons. I wish I could evade all demons, right? So I'm at -5. Yep. And I die. A little bit. The scout. Scout's looking to heal somehow. He doesn't really have a way to do it. 2, 2. I'll go this way, I guess. I don't know. It's a volcano. Erupts with a crack of thunder. All strangers in the region are engulfed and go off to the discard pile. This is in the region. This is not. That is not. There are no strangers except for this fairy. I don't think it's currently a follower, so I don't think that happens to it. You got to make up, you know, decisions on things like that. If people can't agree, maybe they roll dice or something. And on to the wizard, who does not want to follow the red line particularly, but is going to anyway. Back to the Sentinel outpost, where I roll a die. I got a 5, judged innocent. I can go to any Timescape space on the next turn. Hey, that happens again. Well, with that in place, I have to go through another round. Trying to get drunk. 3. I'll stay close. Dragon Dawn. Okay, that gets drawn. That means all dragon effects in the game are on for the rest of the game. Basically, until that came up, there was a little bit of time that gave those dragon cards, a lot of combat cards that are out there that are too heavy, basically this big or bigger, and a fair amount of treasures that, yeah, maybe they're not that big, but they're more powerful than, you know, a helmet or a sword that was kind of the original deck. So dragons are in effect now. Conjurer, trying to become Archmage. Yeah. I go to the crags, where I am lost for a turn. That I can handle. I know what that means when I hit it. The scout, trying to heal. The safest place I can be is right here, because he can't attack me from there. He probably wants to take my equipment. I draw this. It's a magic banner. This inspires your followers. As long as you have any followers who add to your strength in combat, increase their bonus by 1 point, and followers who will fight in your place have their strength and craft increased by 1 each. This doesn't help me, and for that matter, it may help with the Jester. It depends on how you judge add to your strength. I'm saying since it subtracts, they don't mean add, but yeah, you know, you could make an argument for it's adding a negative number. Anyway, we're not going to make that argument. I get to go anywhere. I'll go to the Nexus. This can be a very, very powerful choice. A big dragon, a giant, a dungeon doorway, a market day where normally you could you could exchange goods with other players, but the thing is, it doesn't make sense if you're in the Timescape. So I can have the Book of Spells, which will gain my full complement of spells, or I can go to the dungeon doorway. How potent am I for the dungeon? I've got a 4 strength with some shielding. I don't know. I'm going to grab my complement of spells and grab 2 new spells. Okay, now we got something interesting here. So I've got healing, great. I don't want to play that yet. That'll raise me up. I've got bolster. Now notice that this is like a glued together card. This is one of those ones that came out of like a Space Gamer or something like that. I don't know where it came from. You cast it when combat's going to take place, and it increases your target's strength by the roll of 1 die. That makes me quite potent and probably able to buzz my way through at least one big problem in the dungeon. Might have been, well, you know, the dungeon doorway was there, but now it's gone. All right. I think we've gone around enough for a while. Then I'm going to put the dice over here on top of him, and I am going to load this one up because I've been considering doing that for a while. Up it goes.